My name is Russell Shorto. I'm the director of the John Adams Institute, which has been an American Culture Center here in Amsterdam since 1987. And it got its reputation with literature, with novelists and writers. We have branched out in recent years, and I can't think of a better example of what we aspire to than tonight. We're very pleased to present Lang Lang. Last night he performed a sold-out concert at the Concertgebouw. He will be tomorrow in Eindhoven and Tuesday in Rotterdam at the Doelen. And what we have called it tonight is a conversation with music. It'll be a conversation about his life, his remarkable life, and as well there will be some music, and as always at our events there will be time for questions and answers for your involvement. Our moderator is Maartje Stokkers. She studied music at the University of Amsterdam and also at the University of Perugia. She is a presenter of Radio 4's programs Maanlicht and Licht op 4. And in the words of AVRO's PR department, Maartje Stokkers represents the new generation of presenters, fresh, relevant, and with a warm voice. Please welcome the warm voice of Maartje Stokkers.
Thank you, Russell. That was it for my warm voice tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're going to be told a wonderful story. That is, a story full of wonders. About an 8 years old boy who has to leave his mother to study in a city 800 kilometers from home. About a boy who had to walk a very difficult path, but who greeted some miracles on his way that eventually led him to his goal, to be number one. This story is like a pearl necklace. Every pearl has its own mysterious beauty and background. This story is a necklace of miracles. It's the story of pianist Lang Lang. Great microphones. Very sensible. Hi.
Hi, goedenavond. Ja.
Goedenavond. Shall I pour you some water?
Dank u wel. Ja.
So,
Thank you. Oh.
So when I call you Mr. Lang, I actually call you Mr. Educated Gentleman, but, well, suppose we're on first name basis, and I call you Lang, then I call you Brightness and Sunshine. How important is one's name in China?
I think Chinese parents always give an incredible name to the kid, you know, and my name is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
At least it's easy to remember. My name is not like you know, that would be hard. Yeah. So thanks to my parents, pretty nice name. But some, you know, like when I go to Turkey and people call me Lang Lang. Yeah, and you know, there are a lot of versions. Or people sometimes makes my name with Panda's name. So it's sort of like Ling Ling or something. So I said,
total different meaning.
It's quite different. So yeah, but my name is not the same actually. People, it's actually Lang Lang. Yeah. But even Chinese people sometimes make mistakes and they put my name writing in the same way. It's actually not.
No.
Not big difference though, but not exactly the same. So in a way, it's a pretty confusing name, but yeah.
Well, let's keep it at Brightness and Sunshine then.
Yeah, that's the meaning behind the name.
The first Lang.
Yeah. Wow, you're totally well informed.
It's my job. Well, let's have a summation here. Lang Lang in Preludium, Lang Lang in a CD catalog, Lang Lang in the Concertgebouw magazine, Lang Lang in Luister, which is a great magazine, and then Lang Lang in a watch commercial even. I've watched videos of you during the Nobel Prize ceremony with President Obama on stage with Paul McCartney, Jerry Seinfeld, and Obama himself. I've seen you playing at the Beijing Olympic Games, the Grammy Awards, together with Wyclef Jean, the guy who wanted to be president of Haiti for a short while. Well, he's a pop star. You are friends with Kanye West, very famous hip-hop star. Lang Lang, you are everywhere.
I'm here. That's I mean, thank you. That's more important, I think. I mean, that's what musicians does, right? I mean, traveling like nuts and perform and share music with our wonderful audiences and music lovers and non-music lovers. We force them to listen. No. I mean, we try to inspire people who doesn't know classical music and try to share our passion through this great
You're doing
art.
a great job by playing with pop stars and stuff like that to lower the borders for people. Is that your goal?
I mean, not only just working with pop stars to get the people to attention, because I believe that the great composers like Mozart or like Chopin has this strong connection to everyone, But obviously, sometimes we need to also finding new collaborations to make very creative projects. And especially today, it's really a multimedia driving, high-tech driving society that everyone, I wouldn't say everyone, but the majorities are on the internet all the time. And so we need to also to find a way how we use technology to share classical music and to share the passion through the notes on the internet. And this year, the biggest thing is the 3D, the third dimension. It's actually, we are sitting here, we have 4 dimensions, but at home, if you want to watch someone, you never have a chance to see live. I mean, 3D is a really wonderful way to share the experience. So I think the technology thing will help to develop our music world. Will help a lot.
Okay, thank you. My whole summation was in order to mention the fact that you are some sort of a pop star, becoming a sort of pop star. But later about that status, let's start at the beginning. Your mother and father are both very musical, but they were not able to pursue their dreams. What happened?
Maybe they didn't practice that much. Let me just try. My mom is here, my God, I shouldn't say that. She's upstairs watching somewhere. She's wonderful, by the way, I'm just sure. They when they were my age or a little bit younger, I'm actually getting older now, and they had this cultural revolution, and that basically stopped the schools and stopped the society. It became quite a mess. So therefore, they didn't really have a chance to become a global musician. Especially my father had a huge dream to be a musician when he was a kid.
He is a traditional musician.
Yeah, the Chinese instrument, erhu. Yeah.
Erhu.
You want to try to say that?
Erhu.
That's good.
It's
yes.
two-stringed.
Yeah, two-string. Yeah. It's like, you see. I mean, always interesting. In the West, people use fork, and you have 4 strings. Basically, so the violin is 4 strings. And then when you use chopstick in China, 2 stick, then the erhu is 2 strings. I kind of find this theory somehow.
But the Cultural Revolution shattered the dreams of your parents to become musicians.
Right.
But then you were born of great expectations. It's a quote from your book.
Yeah.
How did you handle that?
I was born the generation called the Reform generation, which is after 79. There's everything become new, new rules, new much more open. And I was born in 82, so. The only thing is that during my generation, every family only has 1 kid. Mm-hmm. Think about it, if you're a football player, you only have 1 penalty. It's not easy, to get the ball in, to the net. So a lot of pressure, You know what I mean? Like if you have 3 kids, then at least 1 will go get in somehow.
You're joking about this, but I imagine that your parents had that 1 penalty named Lang Lang,
right?
And they had great expectations.
And you have a 2-person 1 penalty, yeah. By the way, yeah. So yeah, it was So of course they had a high hope.
Yeah. Well. It turned out great. When did you start playing the piano?
I start touching the keys.
Touching keys?
Not really playing, by the way, when I was 2.5 years old.
But what would have happened if your parents decided to buy you a violin? Why the piano?
For me, I always like piano because when I remember things, it's always piano. So I didn't really have a chance to learn violin or other instruments.
No, your parents gave you a piano when you were 2.5 years old.
They actually bought it even before. They bought it.
So how did they connect the dots between a 2-year-old boy and a piano?
I mean, my parents loved the piano. They just didn't have a chance to play when they were a kid because it's a Western instrument. And during the Cultural Revolution, you can play piano, but only in Chinese music. Because it's the same with the Western literature, same problem. Something wrong with my voice? Oh, I got too close. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the piano, right? Yeah. So and then. Let's try to be serious here. And the piano, it became kind of a fashion in a way. It became kind of after the Cultural Revolution, it seems like everyone liked to buy a piano. And piano in the beginning was a furniture. It's just
really.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know how to play, that's a furniture. And somehow. I think my parents spent half years of their salary to buy me a piano. And I think my father learned it before I started, so a little bit he learned.
More about that later. I want to ask you about that. But your initial inspiration was a cartoon.
Oh yeah,
wasn't it?
This is kind of old story.
Yeah.
But I repeat again today. I was watching Tom and Jerry cartoon, and there are 2 things that got me really impressed. One is Tom's tuxedo, and when he sit down, he was like, yeah, that was very artistic, And then also the way he played the piano, his fingers is like noodles or like.
They extend.
And that I was deeply shocked, and I look at my fingers, like my little tiny fingers, like doesn't work, But I start, looking at that big piano, and then I start looking at my little piano, and like, oh, there's a connection. Okay, so I start, touching the keys, as I said before.
Yeah. Right. So, is it too much to ask to just play a little fragment of the piece that was the first music you actually heard played by Tom and Jerry in their cartoon? Is
But I mean,
there is.
let's keep going. Let's keep going. I will play something in the end. I mean, come
Okay. Well, it was the second Hungarian Rhapsody of Liszt.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, I didn't know who Liszt was.
No,
I mean,
no.
you're 2 years old. You know nothing about that. So.
No, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
But later I learned that was Liszt. Yeah.
You didn't grow up in a regular house. What kind of house was that? How big?
Regular house. I mean, in China at that time, we don't have a big house. I mean, it was still people live in the kind of like a dormitory type of buildings. But that time, it's not only in my family; every family is living like that. But for me, because my father played in the orchestra, Air Force orchestra band, yeah. So he lived with his colleagues. So it's almost like I think like 5 families share one kitchen or something, that type of thing. But one good thing about it was the whole environment is very musical. So everyone is somehow singing or playing instrument, and their kids. It's the older ones, the ones older than me, they already start playing piano or violin. So you always hear music, whether Chinese music or Western music. There's always something happens, and I sometimes when the singers, when they cook food, they start singing at the same time when they cook. That's very inspirational. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So it was a guarded environment in those Air Force barracks with a lot of music around you.
Yeah. I mean, or you can say noise. Yeah, but
Okay, let's keep it at
something
music.
going on. Yeah.
At the age of 4, there was a great change. Your father had always been teaching you, but he was a traditional musician. So how, and that's where I get to this question, how did he get himself prepared for teaching you?
I think he learns some pieces before I started, so he kind of helped me a little bit.
So
too.
he taught himself playing the piano.
Yeah, but then after very quickly, I realized he's not good. I play better already. It's like, oh come on, I need a teacher.
So but he also realized that you needed more to develop, and then
Absolutely.
your very first teacher, what kind of woman? She was a woman. What kind of woman and professor was she?
She's amazing. I'm still keeping very close relationship with my first teacher, Professor Zhu, and she's a really knowledgeable person. Her English is perfect. I mean, at that time, it's really rare.
What's the most important lesson that she taught you?
She taught me so much about harmony and about Bach. I think when you start playing music, to understand Bach, it's the most important lesson and most challenging composer to learn. But once you're a kid, that's the best way to get into music, because everybody is actually, all those great musicians are really learned from Bach. So, and for me, she's the only, very rare great teachers who knows how to teach Bach, and that's really gave me a fantastic fundamental education. And also, when you memorize Bach, if you can memorize Bach's piece, you can memorize everything.
Really?
Yeah, because he separates your left hand and right hands like nobody else does. So you need to be totally go independent. And for kids, those balance with your 2 brains is very important. Yeah. And often that's the first challenge for kids, how to balance both hands. As a pianist, I think that's the most difficult technique. Even today, how you separate your hands and how you work together as a team. Almost like a football, 10 players. And I mean, football is 11 players, but with a goalie. But And there's one thing Liszt said. A great pianist need to have every finger need to be one unit, and then 10 fingers need to be one unit as well. So that helps, to get an idea.
So Bach is good for
Mm-hmm.
that.
And then she knows exactly how to teach Bach, and then
Right.
then it's just I gained so much, from that education.
Your father was very strict and severe. Did he approve of her way of teaching?
Yeah. So I think he worked quite well with my first teacher, and he was also learning in the same time when I was having lessons, and yeah, that was actually a very good time. I have quite good memories about my very early education, and obviously later it's become some kind of out of control. But in the beginning was very good, very enjoyable.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's go to this. Well, actually, it's the darkest chapter in this book, and it's called Shame. I highlighted 4 lines. Could you read them out loud?
Your playing is a gift to all of us. May I ask why you stopped? My father began to explain, but he stopped himself. Finally, he said, Lang will tell you why. I tried, but I couldn't. The story was too painful.
The story was too painful. What story was that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was turning 9 years old, my family made a decision to take me to Beijing to study from my hometown, Shenyang.
And your mother had to stay home.
Yeah, and my mom need to stay because otherwise nobody will pay the costs. So my father, he took a huge risk because he think that Beijing will be quite fluent, everything will be easy, and so he quit his job,
To go with you.
to go with
Beijing.
me and to make sure that I'm on the right track. I mean, if you're 9 years old, you do need someone to be with. So we arrived to Beijing. We rented the cheapest place, and then
Very small.
but that was okay because that's not a big deal. But the problem was, so I start learning with this teacher because the reason why we study with this teacher is that
You call her Professor Angry in the book, right?
Yeah. But I will tell about that.
Okay.
So, because everybody said that this teacher is really good, a fantastic teacher. You should.
So your father thought we need that teacher. For
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, wow! If she's great, let's go there." The first mistake was that we didn't really, know the teacher, and the teacher didn't really know what I'm doing. So to make things short, the first lesson I remember something is wrong. This teacher is like. Normally when you play piano, you're like that, right? The normal position, right? And this teacher is like, no. Let me teach my way. I said, so what is your way? She's like, raise your arm and shoulder really high. I'm so sorry. This. And then I said, why is this? And she's like, because this is like a mountain. In order to make things smooth, you need to be very high, and then. And then the energy will go down smoothly. I remember I was practice every day like this, like a chicken, she played like this. In a way, it's pretty okay, when she plays. But when I start playing like this, it's just so ridiculous, But that was okay, I tried this, didn't work out, but. And then every lesson I play,
She didn't approve.
she didn't approve. And she's always saying, did I say that? Why you play like that? I said, because you told me to play like this. She said, no, I never say that to you. And so every time it's like that. And then she's like, explain something the whole time, like 45 minutes, like without playing anything, just speaking something which just doesn't, for 9 years old, you just don't get it, it's just, the digestion, system didn't work, it's like, and then after a few lessons, and she said, oh, you're so bad, you shouldn't play piano, why you come to Beijing to study, you will never make it in your life. Maybe in five, in your 5 lifetimes, you will never make it. So just go back, your father's crazy, quit his job, he's totally crazy, So she kicked me out and she fired me. She said that, do something else. Don't have a dream of being a pianist. That doesn't suit you. That's not what you do. So I got fired.
Okay. But then you had this I've been a teenager, a regular one, a terrible one, and I had nasty fights with my parents, for which I'm very sorry.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, in a way, I am.
It's become a confession today.
No, but in this chapter, Shame, I read about this very nasty fight with your father.
Yeah.
And then you decided to not play for 4 months.
Yeah.
And that was that story you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I can tell a little bit. So during this time, I kind of start losing my passion for music. Because when I was a kid, I thought music is something that gave me the energy and gave me the great joy. So that's why I play. That's why I practice 8 hours a day, because I feel enjoyed.
Yeah.
But this period of time, I just felt that music is so painful. Many times I'm thinking to destroy piano. Seriously, if somebody give me something, I will do it. You see a cartoon that the parents came back and you see a little boy with a huge knife and made piano half. And then he's like, there's a cartoon. And so I'm like, I almost did that. I hated piano. I'm like, oh God, don't let me practice again.
You were on a very strict regime.
Oh my God, yeah, it was just horrible. It's killing me. And then, so one day, and at school, at this public school. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the reason I'm going to Beijing is I want to take audition to the best Chinese school. It's called the Central Conservatory. And before you get in, you need to study with the teachers there to get used to the system and to, it's like any place else. So that's why I went to Beijing to have a private lessons and to know the environment and to, and to waiting for the big day to come, the audition. But this is...
But Professor Angry...
This is like a year before the audition, 8 months before the audition. She totally, saying, no good, don't even take the audition, go back, you will never achieve it. So, but during this time, I got so kind of depressed, and then in the elementary school, the music teacher asked me to accompany the school choir. So, yeah, that was good, so I had some good time to accompany them. So one day I was supposed to get back home around like 3 o'clock after the last class, but I went to this choir class, and I start play a little bit, but also I stayed late. I didn't go back home to practice. So, and then I realized, oh God, it's going to be nasty. So I came back, and I saw my father on the balcony, and his face is like turned blue. It was horrible. And I went in to the apartment, and my father totally went somewhere, his mind is not on the earth anymore, probably in Mars or something. So he said that, why are you coming home 3 hours late? And I said, oh, because I was accompanying a choir, But he didn't listen to me. He said, you totally destroyed your dream and you destroyed your family's support, and you should jump. You should jump off the balcony. It was horrible, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And
No. Luckily you didn't.
yeah, so luckily I didn't do it, but I was trying to. It was hard because I got so mad also, and I tried to destroy my hands by not playing piano anymore. So it was, because I got really also kind of went something wrong. So for 4 months I didn't touch the keys, and I didn't talk to my father, and I wanted to go back to my hometown and just forget about piano. I start blame everything on piano. I thought, because of piano, I don't spend time with my mom. I left my hometown and get this treatment, by the teacher and with my father, and I kind of start blame everything on my father and piano. So that was a horrible time. That was the experience.
But then, and in the introduction, I said I compared your story to a pearl necklace, because there are little miracles that happened. And after those 4 months of not playing, of hating the piano, you accidentally run into this very nice fruit vendor in the street.
Yeah, this guy is selling fruit on the street. So I was totally lost. I don't go to school, and I get back home and I don't practice. I just kind of walking around because I'm preparing to go home, not to not play piano anymore. So I start fooling around, and then there's a guy selling watermelon. And he said, "Hey, do you want to have a watermelon?" And it was hot day, and it was like summertime. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So I start, holding the watermelon, and then, as a pianist, you have a good fingers, I start.
You start tapping the watermelon
like
to test if it's right.
Yeah, because I kind of know what is good watermelon or not. When you tap in, and if you feel there's a lot of if it's a very full, and then it's actually a good one. If it's really empty, it's bad. So I thought, this is good, that's bad. This is good, that's bad. So he opened up, and then I said totally right, and he said, "Oh my God, what are you doing? What are you?" I said, I was a pianist, so that's why, He said, "What? You were a pianist? You're 9 years old. A little kid. You retired?" And I said, "Yeah. I hate piano. Piano is a monster. Almost killed me." I said. And he said, "What happened?" So I said, I started telling my story a little bit. And I said, "I hate my father. I don't want to talk to him, and I want to go home to see my mom." And so I start crying and those sorts of things. And so he said, "Oh, don't worry, let me take you home." So he take me home with this, this 2 watermelon, good ones. Somehow, this guy become a really, really close friend, and he helps me to, erase the tension with my father, and also he encouraged me to, play the piano again. And
you call him Uncle.
Uncle number 2, yeah. Because I think he's the second son of the family, so that's why I call him.
Are you still in touch with him?
Yeah, we're very good friends. It's still very close. Yeah, every time I go back to Beijing, I stay with his family, and
That's nice.
Yeah. So and then the school choirs start asking me again, to accompany them, and I said no, I'm retired. I'm not playing it. And then I remember one class that everyone was applauding like crazy, saying, "Please play, you're good, play," and then somehow there's the music teacher gave me a score of Mozart sonata, one of the sonata, and it's the slow movement. I said, just sight read it, and it's just going to make you feel better. And and somehow I forgot why I started playing it, but I started playing it, and then I remember my reaction was why I quit the piano. It's a great thing, it's so beautiful, and so I somehow find back the joy that I always had with piano since when I was a kid.
So you were back to business.
And I went home and I told my father I don't want to go home. I want to keep going. Get me a new teacher. So.
Oh, and then it came in Professor.
Oh, yeah, Professor Zhao.
Zhao.
Yeah, and he was really nice. But I was always scared because I'm scared that he find out if I get kicked out by because they're all colleagues, and so so I remember the audition in the conservatory that day. I saw Professor Angry. Oh my God!
She was one of the judges,
of
right?
course, I mean always, and I mean later in my life always, because that you have like 7 teachers in the conservatory, and everybody knows everyone. And I remember she looked at me like this. I still remember, and then oh God!
And how did you play?
But I played well because then I saw Professor Zhao. He was like this. So I'm like, let it go, let's play, But I get scared, And later also that during the competitions, or the Professor Angry still give me a very low point and try to bring me down, always. But didn't work that well. But Professor Zhao was.
But there was a point that Professor Angry had to admit, I'm sorry, but he is very good.
In the end. When I turned 80 years old, yes. Yeah, but no. I think she's become very nice now, and it's fine. But when I was at school, it's still not nice. Still Professor Angry. Yeah. I get so scared. It's like she's like, But yeah.
So one of the other miracles, as I like to call them, your very first trip abroad to Germany for a competition with money from all the family alone and very stressful, 3 Chinese men, 1 boy, 2 men, your father and Professor Zhao.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were in Frankfurt, lost and you didn't know where to go, you didn't have a hotel reservation, and then you saw a Chinese man on the street.
Yeah, I mean, somehow I always have this adventure.
Strange thing with
great
things, people.
So the first time we went out, my father, and my mom bought how much was it? $5,000 that time. In the early 90s, it's 93, and to go to this competition. I was 11 years old. So first time going out of China for a competition, and we need to pay from our own pocket. So we were just walking around the street. We don't really have a hotel to stay, and then suddenly I saw a Chinese guy, just standing there cleaning his car, cleaning, and I'm like, "Are you Chinese?" I was not speaking English at that time, so and then he waved, and it was really nice, and he asked me, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Competition." Competition? What competition? Soccer or something? No, piano. Yeah, and said, "Oh wow, that's cool. My little kid also study piano. Should come and play something for us." So and then I ran to my father and the Professor Zhao, and so he was so nice. He drive us to the competition, and we stayed at his home, and his wife cooks for us. It was really great journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. It turned out great for you.
Yeah, see,
you won the competition, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I still remember first time in my life I saw a church. In the fields. in a kind of a little town in Germany, and I went in. I'm like, I pray to the God, yeah, get me number one. Yeah, it worked. It worked. Yeah,
They heard your prayers, yeah.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, one last miracle. There is this Japanese blind pianist, and it was sort of a breakthrough for you as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, during this competition, I was like walking around, you know, listen to the other
Contestants.
other competitors playing, and then I stopped in a room in front of a room because I heard such a beautiful playing. It's just so unusual. The touch of the, you know, it's really unusual. I never heard such a sound. So I stopped and together with my father, and then I waited when the music finished. So I knocked the door and I went in and I said, wow, this guy is blind. I mean, it's just, and he started talking to me very, you know, easy English. It's like, you know, where are you from? And China. And where are you from? Japan. You know, it's interesting. You know. Yeah. But I said, you know, you play so beautiful. Can we talk a little bit about music and how you touch the keys? And you know, as he started playing it, he's a little bit older than me. So in that time, we were not in direct competition. So it was really beautiful, and I must say I really learned a lot in such a short time. You know, to talk about how we touch. I mean, what are the possibilities of touching the keys? Because he never seen his hand, and he never seen piano before, but he has this magical touch, which really inspiring. So I got a lot of interesting thoughts, you know, during the competition, you know, with his advice. So that was
During your actual performance during the competition.
Yeah, I learned a lot of things, because that's a good thing about. One thing good about competition is that you know, through the competition you learn a lot of things from you know, the people who's similar age, you know, and from different part of the world. But at that time it's not like today. You have internet, you go YouTube, you see all the performances. You know, that time, you know, it's still cassette. You know, it's still tape time. And even though it's not even 20 years ago, but still, you know, technology is far behind. And normally you don't really listen to, you know, those people's playing. Only you see them when you are having the same platform, you know, to perform. And that really gave me a lot of great experience, you know, to look into other pianists, how they play. And
to broaden your horizon.
Yeah, and also, you know, I was only in China that time, but you know, when I go abroad, is how, you know, the European play style and the American style and the other country, you know, how they approach the pieces, the same piece but totally different taste and style, and it's really great, fascinating, you know, to learn. Wow, that's a real experience I never had before. You know, that kind of open eye experience.
Well, talking about an experience you never had before, you went to America.
Yeah, so
at the age of 14?
14, yeah. 14, I went to America.
With a scholarship?
Yeah, full scholarship, of course. Otherwise, we can't afford.
At the Curtis Institute for Music.
Yes, this is a great school and has tremendous tradition. I mean, from Joseph Hoffman and Rudolf Serkin as the president. And then later my teacher, Gary Grafman, you know, that time.
What was the first thing that you learned over there? Or one of the most important things?
So I remember when I see my teacher, this is a huge difference, you know. He said, why do you like to play the piano, and what is your future plan? So he asked me about this.
And then you said,
you know what I said?
To win a lot of
I
competitions.
said, I'm going to win every competition existing in the world. You know, I'm going to yeah, I'm going to this competition, that competition, this. He said, "Are you crazy? I mean, why you learn piano? I said, because I believe if you don't win number one, you just doesn't mean anything." And I said, "Number one is everything." And he said, "You're crazy. I mean, music is not about this. I mean, about how good you play, And I said, "Yeah, but number one means good, right?" He said, "Yeah, but you shouldn't, only think about this. You should think about how to become a great musician, and And I asked him a very tough question. I said, "So if I don't win number one, how I'm going to have a great career?" And he said, "What do you think how to be, to have a career?" I said, "Back in China, we only believe in, competition. If you don't win, you don't have a career, And he said, "Here is America. I know, if you are great, you will have a management, and you have a record company, and you don't need a competition. You will become good musician." And I'm like, "What?
Is that
Never heard such a thing. I mean, I really never had such a thing." And so I didn't believe him, but he's a great teacher, so I'm just okay. And I told my father, I translate, and my father said, "Oh, is that really American way, or why is that?" He said he never heard such a thing either. So we were really questioning. But then I remember, 3 months later, I get a sign with management, and that was, and he said, "You didn't win anything, but you signed a management." I said, "Yeah, but seems like it works in America." And then, I always, waiting for opportunities. I always, it's like longing for concert engagements. And then in the beginning,
It took a while.
yeah, it took a while. Actually, it took a while. But I had a good beginning. I mean, and I started to play with a few good orchestras, including the Baltimore Symphony, and I met a very dear friend of mine. He's actually also here tonight, Greg. Yeah, thanks for being here. And but it's really hard to have a really, you need to have some kind of lucky break to, break into the music theme. Otherwise, people don't believe in you. It's like, why we hire, somebody from China who's like 15 years old, to play Beethoven number 5. It's like that kind of thing. And it's people, especially, that time still not so many Chinese pianists. Like today, we have 15 million kids learning piano, but that time maybe
15 million.
Yeah, 50 million, 50 million.
50.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They say in China, if you have hands, you play piano. Now it's even better. The show like Britain Got Talent, right? I mean, I'm sure you have this kind of show too. I mean, in China, there's a China Got Talent show. And the winner this year, that guy is like 20 years old, and he plays with his feet because he doesn't have hands.
I've seen that.
I mean, it's a very emotional. I got really touched by the whole thing because he doesn't have arms.
No.
And he played real piano. Not like all of them. But like that, 8 keys, and he plays with his foot. Really incredible. So now, now the sentence is, so I'm already old-fashioned,
Playing with your hands.
You don't have hands to play piano now, so to China will be a
Back to your lucky shot. Back to your lucky shot.
Oh yeah, my lucky shot, yeah.
Your breakthrough.
So as you know, in many sports field that, what do we call the super sub? That means that normally you sit on the bench, and then the big star player, get injured, you go on and you shoot a goal, and then you become famous, right? So in music world, this thing also happens, but
No one got sick.
yeah, but you need to pray somebody gets sick, So I was auditioning at Ramenia Festival, and and to play with Chicago Symphony, one of the best in the world. And normally in classical music is that if they like you, they probably book you in 3 years. Okay, so if they like you, if they don't like you, you go home. So it's like that.
So you auditioned for the Chicago
Symphony, yeah, and it was with Christoph Eschenbach. He was auditioning me.
Great conductor.
Absolutely, great pianist and conductor. So the audition went really well, and I remember he asked me, so if there's a piece I would like to ask you to play, what do you like to play? What concerto? And I said, maybe Tchaikovsky. So he thought, okay, good. So I was very happy. I thought, okay, in 3 years I probably, will play Tchaikovsky with Chicago Symphony. So I went back to Philadelphia. And the next morning, it's almost like I'm getting a wake-up call. It's like really early in the morning, and my manager called from New York. He's like, "Hey, wake up!" And I'm like, I'm sleeping. And he said, "Yeah, good news." I said, "What news? What? Are you awake?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "It's not dream, okay? So seriously, it's a real thing. That so and so got canceled concert." I said, "Oh yeah. So where? Chicago." And I was like totally awake. And then so they're asking you to play Tchaikovsky piano concerto tomorrow night. And the evening will feature Isaac Stern, Leon Fleischer, and Alicia de la Rocha. All those greats, and Renee Fleming. It's the concert
it's
of the
top of the bill.
Yeah, it's because it's the August of '99. It's the concert of the century. So they do a huge gala, and you. I'm like, oh my God! I was like. And then I jumped into the plane back to Chicago and met Isaac Stern and I met all those great icon, from music, and I started playing, the first time with the top orchestra in the world and under Eschenbach, and I was just wow, this is really incredible, so this was summer of '99, and then so the concert went really well, and the best concert I ever played, Tchaikovsky concerto. But then there's even more story to go is that after the concert, the musicians get a lot of drink, and I was eating, in the same table as Stern and La Rocha, Leon Fleischer, Fleming. It's like, everyone's in, and then there's a lot of guests also, all the big musicians come to see the concert. I'm like, oh my God, like, totally overwhelmed. And then, like, cheers. I have cheers with orange chair. Cheers. So everybody get drunk, but I'm not. And then the festival director, Zarin Mehta, he said, do you want to play more? I said, yeah. He said, let's play some Bach. And he's drinking, it's totally play something Bach. Yeah. I must say, it's already 2 o'clock, a.m. Because the concert went like 3 hours with so many stars, And then okay, Bach, yeah. To play Goldberg variation, I'm like, oh my God. But I think I drink too much vitamin things, so I was like, yeah, do, no problem. So I did learn a little bit. I know at least I know memorize, I kind of know. So
because of your very first teacher who taught you.
But they said, no, I don't believe it. You can play Goldberg variation after Tchaikovsky, and then I said, okay, then don't ask me. And then after 30 minutes they got really drunk. Said, okay, let's go. Let's listen this guy play Goldberg variation. So I'm almost funky musician, you know. I came back and I remember like Eichenbach like opens up the piano lid, you know, and then put the chairs, you know, and then play. So I play from 2:30 to 3:45. The whole global variation. And then I think they got awakened, you know, after.
They got sober.
Yeah, exactly. And then somehow my career is like a rocket the day after. It's like, yeah, it works, yeah.
It worked. So we've been talking for almost an hour.
Yeah, what time is it?
It's 9 o'clock.
Oh, I need to, I need to drive to Eindhoven tonight. What an exciting city! Oh my God.
Lang Lang, will you play something for us, please?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? I'll leave
the
the stage and leave it to you.
I will play. Let me see what I'm going to play.
Gulberfart.
Oh, come on. we didn't get drunk tonight. I mean, everybody is very clear. I will play a piece from my newest CD, live from Vienna.
That is Chopin or Prokofiev or?
Oh my God, you know it. Maybe Chopin Waltz.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Oh, afterward, a Q&A, yeah? Oh my God. Thank you.
So, some questions from the audience, maybe. Anyone?
No.
Play more.
That's not a question. Thank you. Question, please.
Yes, sir. Ja, dat is een
When you play the piano, you don't seem to look at the keyboard. You look into heaven. What are you thinking about? Music or
Oh my
have you
God, heaven.
dreams?
Oh, wow. Thank you for saying that, by the way. I think, I mean, when I perform, I truly I don't really want to look at the keys because it's not helping, by the way. Yeah, it's not like driving. If you look on the road, it's helping. But playing piano is you need to use your brain and imagination, and you need to connect to the piece and connect to the characters.
what kind of characters? Do you make them up, or?
I mean, depends. I mean, first you have the composer's note, composer's dynamic marks, and then that gives you kind of idea of what kind of character you try to create through that information, and then you fit in with your experience, and in the same time, adding into what you see, what you feel, what happens that moment, the inspiration. It's almost like a multimedia formed process.
Multimedia form.
Yeah, and you see colors, and and you feel different when you touch certain keys. It gives you a new ways of expressing yourself, and so. But it's harder to explain. But once you are in, you're in. Yeah. Yeah.
Satisfaction? Yeah.
Hi, Lana. It's very nice to meet you here. I was born in 1980s, in the same generation as you, and Tom and Jerry is also the favorite cartoon of mine.
Thank you. Yeah.
The same age in China. So could you please play the piece?
I'm sorry. Thank you for asking, and thank you for loving Tom and Jerry. Yeah, but I mean, it's if you don't practice that piece, it's hard to play. God. Yeah. So another time. But in the moment, you can listen to the CD. Thanks. Yeah.
Question. Chinese music, to me, is so different from Western music. Is it possible for you to play Chinese music?
I am playing Chinese music sometimes. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Together with your father.
Yeah, but my father only play one song. He doesn't practice.
But you did play that during the Prinsengracht.
Yeah,
concert,
Prinsengracht.
right?
Yeah, I did play. Yeah.
Together with him.
Yeah.
And that was very nice, by the way. Your debut at the Carnegie Hall in New York.
Yeah.
You came all the way, and then you made your debut in the Carnegie Hall. You made it to there, and then you asked your father to join you for an encore.
Yeah, for my solo recital debut.
Yeah. That's very nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, my father was really happy, and it's kind of like the moment that he achieved his dream.
Yeah, he got to play on a stage
yeah.
in a great music hall as well.
Yeah, and my father told me that I only play that level of concert.
Is it the song about?
He said, "No, I don't like I'm not like you. You play everywhere. I only play like Carnegie Hall, Concertgebouw, and Prince Hawks, of course. I mean, all those big, London proms. I mean, big time player. Yeah." Yeah.
So, but is there a possibility to play for us just a little Chinese song?
Little Chinese song?
Yeah,
Oh.
just one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, so this song is called the Moon Chased by the colorful clouds. Yeah, and yeah, it's a really old tune. It's kind of like people telling me it's at least 2,000 years old tune, and it's played very often in China and in every occasion. And I'm like, how to, explain, the moon chased by the clouds. I was asking, serious professor, and so they gave me answer. That it means very simple. The nice girl chased by the man. That's it.
Thank you very much.